The previous lecture gave our primal dual algorithm for finding a minimum weight perfect matching in a graph. In this lecture, we're going to show that this algorithm terminates in polynomial time. And we're actually going to be more precise than that. We're going to prove two results. First, each iteration terminates in each iteration takes polynomial time. Right? In fact, it takes order, number of edges in the original graph, time. As we'll see, this is relatively straightforward, just following from the workhorse of each iteration, which is just doing this, finding these M alternating trees. The bulk of this lecture is going to be focused on the second theorem that says that there are, at most, I guess that's redundant, there are order v squared iterations. Together, these two theorems imply that we can find a minimum weight perfect matching, if it exists, in time that's edges times number of vertices squared. Okay, so this is almost immediate. This follows the proof of theorem 1, which says bounds the number of time of each iteration, just follows from the fact that each iteration amounts to building an M alternating tree. And it stops, each iteration stops when we have found either an augmenting path, this is case 1, or a blossom, this was case 2 of the algorithm in the previous lecture, or cannot grow the tree anymore, or shrink a blossom. And this was case 3. So now let's turn to the proof of the second theorem, which is going to bound the number of iterations, the number of total iterations. And the reason that it's not a priori straightforward is that we are not just augmenting our matching. If it were just augmenting our matching, then we know we would be done because we can only augment a matching so many times. In fact, that will still be the anchor to this proof. But we need to check that the number of times we shrink and expand and shrink and deshrink the graph has to be controlled. So let's again list what the algorithm does. In each iteration, what could happen? The algorithm does one of these things. It either augments M, or it shrinks a blossom, and it adds U, which is the nodes of the blossom, to omega, or it deshrinks an odd set U and removes U from omega. The first one is the easiest to deal with. So clearly, m can only be augmented some small number of times, namely order v times. In fact, it's just cardinality of v divided by 2 when we start from an empty matching. And as we're going to see, this is going to be the key. But now we've controlled the first one. So now we need to look at the second and third possibilities. And the most important, the linchpin of this proof, is showing that we can't shrink and then deshrink in before we augment an m. So let me write that precisely. This is the key lemma. A set u added to omega, meaning we shrank it, cannot be removed. Okay, so this happens from shrinking. Cannot be removed from the process of deshrinking until after the next matching augmentation. Until after the next matching augmentation. So what does this mean? This is telling us that we know that there's only a certain number, order v times, that we can augment the matching. And we just need to make sure that we don't spend too much time shrinking and deshrinking. And what this lemma guarantees is that you can shrink many times, you can augment, you can deshrink many times, but you can never deshrink what you shrank. So what we're going to count carefully is that if you can't deshrink what you shrank before you augment the matching, then there's only going to be a small number of things that you can do. You're eventually going to run out of things to shrink or deshrink. Actually, you can probably already see that the number of things that we can shrink or deshrink is going to be controlled by the number of nodes. And this is what's going to give us our v squared. But let's see this in detail. So the core that we need to prove is this lemma. So recall how shrinking works. So recall that any blossom that we shrink becomes an even node. This is really critical. It becomes an even node. So in other words, here's just the picture that now we've seen so many times. Here is our blossom. What happens to this? When we shrink, this is even, odd, etc. Actually, I won't label this all around because so when we shrink, it turns into, maybe there's some other edge. It turns into, I'll make this slightly bigger to remind us that it is our shrunk blossom. It's even. This is our shrunk node. If this is u, this is now u. So let's see why this is so important. Okay, so any blossom that we shrink, this is a new node, a new node that we've added to omega, and we're saying that it is even. Why is this so important, and how is this going to imply our lemma? Well, how do we deshrink? So why do we reshrink? When we deshrink something, we deshrink it because the value yu hit 0. We deshrink because in y, which we were updating by y plus theta d, so let's see, some yu became 0. But we already mentioned this in when we were talking about how big can theta be. But let's write it clearly. What is d? What is du? Well, just the way we defined it, it's equal to +1 if u is in E, and -1 if u is in odd. And therefore, we only deshrink nodes in O. So what does this tell us? Well, for one thing, it tells us that if we just shrank something, it's an even node and we can't deshrink it. But so you should naturally ask, well, maybe there are some other shrinking and deshrinking operations that happen elsewhere in G prime that change the parity of that node U, which we shrank. And that's exactly the key. That can never happen. The key thing to note is the following. Shrinking and deshrinking cannot change the parity. In other words, the membership in E or O cannot change the parity of any node. Nor can the only other thing that cases 2 and 3 do. Remember, case 1 is our augmentation. So nor can, what case 3 does? Case 3 either deshrinks. Case 2, we said, is what shrinks. Case 3 either deshrinks or add edges. Nor can adding new edges to the graph. And you can check this. So, as an example of this, we have something in E, something in O, we have something in E, we have our blossom that I shrink, and maybe there was this connects to something that's in O, oops, and this connects to E. So if I were to shrink this, shrinking something else, you'll see that all of the other E's stay E's. All of the E's stay E's. It doesn't. Maybe some E's are swallowed up and become part of a bigger set. That's fine. But we cannot shrink. No node that's labeled E can flip its label. On the other hand, note that an augmenting path can do this. If we find an augmenting path in some part of the graph, let's just draw this simple example. This is E, this is O, and this is E, this is O. If I find an augmenting path, which is, of course, these two nodes, then this becomes I guess I need to let's say this is attached to some other node, which would be even. So I've found an augmenting, so that's still here. This is not the example I want. My point is that now this I really need to draw. I need to find an exposed node. But my point is that by looking at this, the point is that when I flip the edges in a matching, then we can indeed change the cardinality of nodes. So maybe let me try a little harder to find an example of that, because I need to have an exposed node so that I can start counting edges. let's say, well, we're kind of running a little bit short on time. So if I, this is even, odd, even. All right, we can pick this up at a later time. The point is, though, that only augmenting the matching can change cardinality. So what that means is that that concludes the proof of the lemma. And so now we have to ask, what can happen between augmentations? How many iterations can we have? Well, by the above lemma, we have that the number of deshrinkings is at most going to be the size of my laminar family omega, where here omega denotes the laminar family after the last augmentation. And so we have two augmentations that happen, and I want to know how many iterations could there be between one and the other. And the number of shrinkings is at most omega, where here omega is the laminar family just before the next augmentation. This is what the lemma has bought us, and it's very important because it tells us that that I can't possibly be shrinking and deshrinking. So in particular, this means that if omega is any laminar family, I don't care how it was built, then the magnitude of omega is order v. And therefore, even if these aren't the same omega, I know that they are bounded by v. So what do we have left to show? We have another situation that we can consider. So we know that we have at most order v times that we can augment. That's case 1. We know that we can shrink, that's case 2, at most omega times before we get to another augmentation. We know that in case 3, we can deshrink at most omega times. There's one other thing that can happen in case 3, and that is we could add an edge. So we need to make sure that there is a limited number of times that we can add an edge, and we're going to look at this in the next lecture and then putting everything together, we'll show that the number of times, the number of iterations you can have between augmenting matchings is going to be at most order v. So we'll do this in the next lecture.